Wingman's Hangar episode 63 drops on the 2nd of April, it's been 499 days since the end of the Kickstarter campaign. In this episode, we get the briefest glimpse of the actors behind our future wingmen and wingwomen in Arena Commander. We also, if I'm right, get a very early glimpse at the Argo.
Martin Galway spent last week directing voiceover actors for the NPC pilot voice-to-face capture. Now, what does that mean? Well, as you can see, Martin's out there recording all these people doing voices for the bitching Betty, the people that give you alerts of what's going on, or your wingman in the dogfighting module, things like that. These will be around for months for you guys to listen to and get your feedback. So Martin did that. We got his first taste of the head cam, which you guys saw there. Really, really cool.
The new org system is proving popular with the active community, and a little competition has been run in recent weeks to encourage its use. 3 members from the 6 most active orgs were invited along to PAX East as a prize.
From the small side, QQOP, the oppression. We have Aquatus Interstellar Risk. From the medium size, CFT, Confederation of Free Traders. And the Cove, Cosmic Venturers. From the large size, we've got LAMP, Loose Association of Mercenaries and Privateers. Now, those of you who've been around a long time, you'll remember the LAMP from the opening first 24-hour live stream. It sits in my office. It's still pretty cool. And we have Explore, self-sufficient deep space exploration. So good for them. They get to go meet with Chris, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And make sure you hit him with some good questions. I know the man loves to get out there and talk to the people and have some fun with what's going on in the universe and give you a little insight in what's happening there.
CIG are still working on the org system though. John Erskine joins Rob and Eric to discuss this. The interview is fairly long, so I'll paraphrase it. Essentially, John says that the organisations will self-govern, but they don't want organisations to create bad experience for players. Whilst we're not yet able to join multiple orgs or hide org membership, that is coming. But for now, they're focused on background work, such as capacity and tweaking algorithms, which help decide what's shown on the big org list. Continuing the org-related stuff, in 10 for the Chairman, episode 15, Chris answers a question from Oroshi, specifically about org hangars. Here's an edited version of it.
Will we get hangars for our orgs, and will members be able to leave their ships there, maybe while flying in an org-owned ship? So yes, we do have plans to have organisation hangars, which are much bigger, shared. They'll be communal. We're going to allow organisations to also be able to buy ships, and like I think I've said before, organisations will be able to sort of tithe, tax, demand fees from their members, and they should be able to sort of loan them out to various members to use. And I would guess you would probably let players, they could probably leave their ship there, especially if they're taking off a organization-owned ship. So yes, the answer would be yes there.
It's rare to hear anything about the Tavaran, but in Wingman's Hangar episode 63, Necro asks,
says, "Hey Wingman, just wondering if we will ever see a Tavaran ship in the Star Citizen universe. I know that their empire has been defeated, but there have got to be a bunch of old repurposed ships out there. And if so, will they be purchasable?"
Always wanted more ships.
Do we want to give this away right now?
No, but if you recall, at the end of the whole Tavaran episode, they all dove their ships into the atmosphere and went kablooey. So,
So no Tavaran ships
I
anywhere.
don't know if there are many of those left in the verse.
Not many left. Not
If at
many
all.
left, if at all. Yeah, right. So we'll see about that one. We'll see.
with the release of the org system recently, some orgs are coming up with videos as a recruitment mechanism. There's an org video showing that both Eric and Rob liked, and this early on is one of the best videos I've seen, so I'm keen to show it off. So ladies and gentlemen, Nexus Security.
You know trading, be it raw materials to the Stanton system or exporting handmade Gaussian trinkets. You can get your lanes locked down and your hold full up. So just when you're ready to hit the verse, that's when the verse hits you with pirates, rogue agents, Vandul, pirates, space whales, raging space whales, all take the shine out of your bottom line. So before you ship out, shape up with Nexus Corporation on your wing. You know trading. Nexus knows security.
Whilst there's no elimination rounds on TNGS until May, the teams are called by various CIG staff for updates on progress, and these are shown to the community. Most of the ships are making steady progress, but some of the smaller, particularly single-person teams are starting to struggle. I've quite a lot of sympathy with them, but in all honesty, in a competition with tight timescales, going solo was always going to be difficult. The only small teams that really seem to be keeping their heads above water are Talon Corp and Skyguard, both of whom seem to show constant progress in their ships, but all of the teams are trying, at least for now. Procedural generation is back on the menu, boys. At least it's mentioned again in 10 for the Chairman, episode 16, in a question from the Starfather.
The topic of procedural generation planetside, when and if this technology comes to fruition post-release, what can we expect to see included with it besides exploration and atmospheric flight? Will we see some new procedurally generated planets in addition to the ones already in the verse that were just barren? Is it also possible that this procedural generation will extend into jump points as well as actually facilitate the creation of new planets and areas? Yeah, I mean, we're doing the R&D right now, so actually the first thing that we're doing with the procedural generation is researching asteroid field, asteroid generation, asteroid field generation, the ability to sort of mine asteroids using voxel technology, so finding the seams of minerals inside the asteroids. Then the plan is to sort of extend it to sort of system generation, so we can sort of generate different star systems using the procedural tech, and then move on to celestial bodies like planets. The later stages will be procedural work for sort of the environments you will land in. So we would sort of have certain areas that we would design, and then just sort of flesh out the background city or the background landscape, sort of beyond the area that you can explore. And then very, very, very long term, if we can figure out a way to make the planet actually interesting, we would be interested in trying to make a planet that you could actually go fly around over the surface. But it's, that's actually sort of like the pipe dream at the moment, because even with procedural generation, you have to do a lot of other things like build cities and what's happening aboard the planet and having all that simulated. And that's, we're already trying to do a whole universe and have an economy and all that work. So, I wouldn't promise anything on that yet.
Law enforcement, bounty hunters, and assassins should pay attention to question 4 from that episode, which is submitted by Commissar, where he or she asks about the person of interest system and how it will work.
So yeah, the idea of the person of interest system is you basically say, hey, I'm interested in this person over there, and the other person doesn't really have any awareness that you basically tag that person as someone that you want the game to let follow. So maybe we would have some devices that you could have that could let you know that someone's watching you or snooping on you, which would be sort of like counterinsurgency stuff. But the idea of the person of interest system is that way, when they leave the planet, you have the opportunity, you get sort of notified, and you have the opportunity to sort of follow them and fly with them in space and deal with them. So it's sort of like tagging someone as, I don't know, a temporary friend, not that they're necessarily a friend, but it sort of allows you to sort of be kind of follow their movements, or meet them out in space, or track them, which is necessary if you're meant to track someone down for a bounty or whatever. So that's kind of how the person of interest system is designed to work. So we'll see how it works in reality, but I'm hoping it will work well, because it will sort of put you together with either your friend, the instancing system will put you together either your friends or people you're interested in, or people that would be related to what your group and stuff's doing, like your enemies and stuff.
And it wouldn't be 10 for the Chairman without a question on jump points, this time from Grimlicken, asking if some ships won't be able to fit in some jump holes. I'll paraphrase Chris's answer here and say that yes, this will happen. Some ships will simply be too large for some jump holes. The pros and cons haven't quite been worked out yet, but in essence, large ships may have fewer routes they can take. But ultimately, some big things won't fit in little holes. Erin Roberts is back on Wingman's hangar near the end of April and tells us they are now planning the motion capture required for Squadron 42. This includes a quite large budget and a knowing glance at Chris. In hindsight, this is pretty amusing, since we now know who the cast was that they had in mind, or potentially who they'd already signed up. We also find out that whilst the Wing Commander 4 script was 400 pages long, the current draft for Squadron 42 is 1,000 pages. Now bear in mind that most movie scripts, according to Chris, are between 120 and 150 pages. Flashbolt sends in a really cool question, which gets a very long answer from Chris. He asks, I can't imagine insurance companies replacing items that were lost during the commission of a crime. Can you explain how insurance will work for pirates and outlaws? I'll paraphrase again for Chris. Essentially, he doubts at the moment that there will be any insurance available to pirates or outlaws other than basic hull insurance, although there may be some dodgy insurance broker who will offer the 3 levels of insurance: basic hull, customization items, and cargo insurance. As cargo and customization insurances are optional, they don't apply in all space, and certainly not in dangerous areas, so you venture there at the risk of your cargo and any customizations you've made to it, as well as yourself. Ever wondered what happens to man meat? You have? Well, you're in luck. Erraticus asked Chris about just that very thing. What happens to the bodies of players killed during boarding actions?
What we were thinking was that if someone gets killed in a boarding action, and if members of your team essentially trying to board the ship or vice versa manages to recover the body and get it back to a med bay, and some of the bigger ships will have med bays, or you've got a certain time limit to get the body to say a med station. You've got so many lives before you properly die, and then you have to move on to a new character in the universe, which was all described in my Death of a Spaceman post a while ago. But what we were thinking is it would be a nice gameplay element that it would encourage people to sort of try and recover either the wounded or sort of incapacitated bodies of friends to get them back. So maybe you'll go on a boarding action and you'll fail, so you'll sort of lick your wounds, grab your fallen comrades, get them back on your ship, and then hightail it off somewhere to try to maybe go to some shady pirate fix-up doctor somewhere, so you can get fixed and not lose your life. So that's what the solution is. If you abandon your friend there, I think what we'd probably do is you lose a life, and at some point we sort of detach the body that would be sitting on your ship, which would probably allow you to be able to vent or put out the ship, but that wouldn't preclude the person that actually lost his life being able to respawn on a planet. They just sort of at that point separate in terms of characters. So we probably don't want to have a body just magically disappearing on board a ship.
James Pugh makes his debut on Wingman's Hangar episode 66, helping out on the MVP slot. And Ben seems to say the wrong name. It should be Hipsop for Time Capsule, lower as a PDF. And so I've saved one important update this month for last, PAX East. I've edited some footage together to show just how cool this show was. Prepare for Helmet. There were a few server stability issues during the live demo of Arena Commander at PAX East, but on the whole it was very well received. The event had a couple of classic CIG moments, thanks to Chris Roberts and Brian Brewer. Without further delay, I'll hand over to Mr. Roberts, who begins with a demo of the flight mechanics and basic weapon system use. This is the first time it's been shown live. Fortunately, Chris is an old hand at 6 degrees of freedom.
Yeah.
Chris not only demonstrated the G-force effects on the pilot, but also Newtonian physics mode, what would later be referred to as uncoupled mode. In Chris's defence, he does, like many of us, fly better with a hands-on throttle and stick, rather than a gamepad, although he seems to be enjoying himself immensely anyway.
Because, first off, let me just go to the outside view. Whoa! After all of that, I blew up on the landing pad. Basically, everything is 100% accurately modeled. The thrusters all change it, and then I can, like I said, like right now, I can change into the Newtonian mode that we move and we go back and forth. I can put the IFCS back on. But the thrusters are all doing everything, and so that means that when parts of you get damaged, your center of mass will change. Your thrusters go off, you won't handle quite the same way. And it makes there's a whole bunch of nuance to how you fly and what you do.
Prior to the multiplayer demo of Arena Commander, Chris talks about the phases of release. I've summarised these on screen to save time. One thing that should be said is that timescales were never given for this little roadmap. I did find it cool that phases 2 and 3 were named though, and it's a shame it's a practice CIG didn't stick to. Anyway, it's time for Commander Roberts to suit up and get down to business. Ready yourself for a moment of infamy. This is what, Chris?
Can't fire, can't move, this is bullshit. Who's gonna kill me?
The multiplayer demo was complete mayhem, hampered by technical issues, and although we got to see some combat, it clearly wasn't as much as the team would have wanted. Eventually though, Chris gave up for the night, having showcased the module as best he could. Fortunately for PAX East ticket holders, they were able to try it out on the floor, and they had far more success. I particularly liked this guy's enthusiasm and justification for buying virtual spaceships. Hey, we all need an excuse, right?
You know, I have a career where I have to act completely appropriate, but when I get home, I want to jump on my computer and blow something up.
There's some bonus footage in the edited version of the show, where Dan Tracy explains the origin of the awesome helmet flip, which is basically down to Brian Brewer, and how to land safely, as I'm sure many of you will remember that in early Arena Commander versions, you had to land very, very gently and very, very slowly.
Tell you guys about this. The whole helmet flip, because Brian Brewer actually wanted to put all that stuff together, and he was like, man, there's got to be more than just, you know, sticking on the helmet, so I'm going to play with it a little bit and pick it up and actually spin it. But there's actually a funny kind of tech related thing with that is when we first actually have the helmet there, the visor is actually closed, and Brian actually used the flip to hide that he's opening the visor up in the air when that's happening at the same time, and then when you catch it, puts it on his head, then he closes the visor afterwards. So if you check back on it, you can see the visor is already closed, and then we hide that. Coming in for a soft landing. Let my landing gear deploy. And there we are. So now, should be able to pop out. And these landing pads here as well for Dogfight, where we're going to be looking at doing for some of the next different multiplayer matches. We're going to probably have like a hardcore mode where you're only allowed like one ship life, and all of the missiles or any of your ammunition that's all depleted. So like my missiles and chaff that I was shooting before could all be rearmed at platforms like these. So you have to actually come in for a very soft landing in order to really not damage your ship. But here as well, you can see now that I'm out on this platform is generating gravity for us, so we're able to walk around freely in our spacesuit. But the other things that we got set up as well is the zero-G movement. So if I actually leave this platform, you can see here where I'm kind of floating about.
Overall, I remember the event, which I watched on Twitch whilst in TeamSpeak with friends, as being a success. The helmet flip and bullshit moments were talked about for quite some time, and some people even suggested making merchandise about them. There were some pretty nasty technical issues though, but as always, Cloud Imperium have learnt from this, and subsequent shows, whilst not always entirely bug-free, would be far more slick affairs. This in my opinion is the strength of CIG. They dare to try, and if they fall, pick themselves up, dust off, and learn the lesson.
Can't fire, can't move, this is bullshit.
This month I'm going to concentrate on some of the unusual 10 for the Chairman questions we see Chris answer. It'll give us a good scattering of topics and a break from exploration, procedural generation and jump points. For example, Chris has asked, when we're buying a new ship, can we trade in our old one, or if those need to be rendered down to base materials and scrapped. Chris confirms that not only can you trade your ship in, but there will be used ship dealers with limited stock to help keep servers clear of ships that are falling to pieces, but essentially these will act as scrap merchants too. Here's another couple of random questions from 10 for the Chairman, episode 19.
Will we be able to name our ships? If so, will this name be visible to others, decals, targeting information, etc.? So the answer is yes, you will be able to name your ships, and we plan to have the ship's name on a decal, so you should see it on the hull, and also it should show up in the targeting information. Now, in Dogfight V1, that won't be a feature, but that is definitely a feature for the persistent universe. Okay, next question comes from The Tick, who asks, since you plan to add a comprehensive first-person shooter element in the game, will there be missions in Star Citizen that will incorporate both ground and space objectives? Yes, that is a 100% yes. That will be the case in Squadron 42 as well as in the persistent universe. So we're definitely going to have some fun stuff that I think would, it's just going to add to the level of feeling like you're in a whole complete world. So it's not just about flying around. So for instance, like if you went out and you found like a derelict ancient ship floating in an asteroid field somewhere, and you go and explore it, you would explore it in first person, like you would dock, you would get on, you'd explore it, and hey, we may even have some alien creatures that could attack you, and we'll have other situations where perhaps you would get attacked. Like you're down on a more sketchy planet, and some people try to mug you in the cargo bay when you're unloading your cargo, so you have to whip out your laser pistol and defend yourself. So there'll definitely be elements that will have sort of nice sort of PvE elements that will play into the first-person shooter side, which will be separate than what we'll be doing for the sort of PvP first-person shooter stuff, which is more like fighting with other people or boarding their ship. So I think it's really going to sort of add to the color. I mean, one of the really nice things, if you saw the dogfighting videos, just the fact that you can eject out of your Hornet and you're there in 0G and looking around at space like this it's really cool. It just sort of makes it feel much more tangible instead of it sort of the abstract. I'm always in my ship, a cockpit. You sort of feel like you're a person, and you can get into ships, you can get out of ships, you can travel around. So we're really going to sort of like push that, because that's kind of one of the really big goals of the game.
In the following episode, Raven asks a bounty hunting question. Essentially, if you managed to blow up a criminal ship who had a bounty on their head, would the bounty hunter get the commission if the player wakes up in hospital with a cybernetic arm as a result of the explosion? Chris clarifies that if you kill, capture or take one of their lives, you get the bounty. So although the character isn't permanently dead, as in you didn't remove their final life, you've still completed the bounty and you'll still get the commission. Scams. Nobody likes these, but they're part of life. Are they allowed in the game? How are we protected from them? This is a question sent in by Lyth Vidane, and I'm massively paraphrasing the answer here. Chris responds that there will be player-to-player trades with some form of broker tax collected each time a trade takes place. The tax itself will be based on local rates, making location important for trading, like a sales tax, as all trades in UEE space will have to be made via a broker. Outside of UEE space, that's not always the case, and you can save money if you're happy to take the risk. Trading with NPCs will likely always be safer than trading with players, but CIG want risk to be involved in the game and expect player-to-player trades to always have an element of risk if they're outside UEE jurisdiction. In Time for the Chairman episode 21, Helimax asks if players will always know who they have been killed by. Will they know who put a bounty on their head if a bounty hunter kills them? Chris answers that you won't necessarily know who paid for the job to kill you, but will likely have means to know who took you out. Seems like assassination is back on the menu, but then again, was it ever off? In the follow-up episode, Quick asks, when Star Citizen goes live, will players be able to buy UEC with real money? And if so, how will you be able to keep the economy balanced when players can print their own in-game money? I'll paraphrase what is an enormous answer by Chris. They want to have Game Master staff, so they can respond to what people are doing, handcraft events, etc. This obviously needs money, so they will be selling limited UEC amounts to people each month. It's really aimed at those who are cash rich and time poor, so though the game won't be a boring grind fest like some, there will be an element of ongoing, recurrent costs, and these sales of UEC will help to offset these, and also help to fund Game Masters for everyone. There are some, wait for it, concerns raised during Wingman's Hangar episode 68, during forum feedback with Rob Irving by Captain Pancake, who asks if we can toggle between first and third person view in combat and how they'll balance this out, as obviously third person view is open to abuse and provides a lot more situational awareness. Rob states that third person view users will lose the heads up display in favour of seeing more around them, so it sort of naturally balances out. At least that's the thinking for now, and as always, this is subject to change. Time for a safe space alert. Rob confirms that hangars are our safe spaces, and there are no current plans to allow these to be attacked. As Eric points out, there are tons of other places for people to attack and board. After all, you are free to do whatever you want. Right, Eric?
Freedom!
A quick shout out to one of the community's favourite YouTubers and streamers on Twitch. I've never really known how to pronounce his name, so I'll just call him What the F***osaurus. His first still publicly available YouTube video was released on 10th of May 2014.
Then I'll go up to the front here. I'm so excited for this game. I've been reading as much information and everything as I could lately. It looks really, really cool. I'm really pumped for it. And if this is a sign of anything at all, it's just going to be visually stunning. Let's go outside here real quick.
There are 12 teams left in the Next Great Starship competition. However, both Team True and Team Troika withdraw due to real-life pressures. Both teams had very good concepts, but the timescales of the competition were extremely tight, so kudos to these guys for having a go at it. Remember, all 12 of the remaining ships are good enough ideas to go in-game. Many of the judges have said this during the competition, so the fact that these guys even made it this far is extremely impressive. With those two gone, we drop to 10 teams left, and only 4 of those can go through to the next round by judges' vote. The community will again be asked to vote in the third and final save pool, which neither Troika nor True will be part of. Losing 2 teams is a big hit for the competition, but fortunately it's come arguably at a reasonable time, with just enough teams left to make it a valid fight for victory. From this episode, 2 teams will be voted through, with the rest going to the save pool. First up is Team Talon, who have a very sweet 3D printed model to show off. Barring a few very minor comments from judges about poly counts and mesh, feedback is extremely positive. Personally, I always thought of this as Avengers' bigger, tougher brother, and that's not a bad thing at all. Team Cryo get a rougher ride, with textures and exterior work being picked up by judges as essentially not good enough. Interestingly, Chris Roberts was pretty positive about the core idea of a catamaran concept with swappable add-ons. However, it has to be said that this was a big change for Team Cryo to make this late in the competition, especially as there's only one member in the team, and he's now got his work cut out to keep up with the others. Infinite Shui Monkey have updated several sections, and the judges are relatively positive about these, but again they're picked up on the lack of texture updates from early stages in the competition, and needing some general tweaks to the shape of the ship. The Tri-Tri ship has come a huge way from concept. The judges really only nitpick over minor elements such as interior lighting, which I'd argue are more about showing off the ship in concept than how it would be handled in game anyway. Overall, it's coming along nicely, and the judges seem relatively happy with it. Skyguard fabrications are struggling to keep on schedule, but man does it look sweet. There's been very little done internally, but when Chris Smith and Sean Tracy are loving your modelling and animations, you know you're doing things right. The only real criticism when you look into what the judges are saying is that they want more of what he's doing. After voting, Cryo, Tri-Tri and Skyguard are sent to the save pool, with Talon Corp and Infinite Shui Monkey marching into the next round. Chris Roberts clearly didn't want to send any of these teams out, and clearly thinks any of these ships at this stage in the competition have potential for the game. I doubt he was joking about this either. Either that, or he's just kicked his favourite out of the competition. The following episode sees the other 5 teams put through the same process. Again, only 2 will go through by judges' vote, with the others hitting the save pool with Cryo, Tri-Tri and Skyguard. Shard Collective are first up, and my word, the cockpit looks incredible. The judges are overwhelmingly positive, with just a few niggles such as Chris Smith wanting to see the texturing up close and Sean Tracy suggesting poly counts could be higher. It's all good though, and clearly one of the judges' favourites at this stage. 1-Bit Amoeba get a chillier reception. It's looking fairly unfinished, but it's a team of 1. Well, it's never going to be easy to compete against teams of 3. The interior comes in for particular criticism by the judges, for not making a lot of sense in places, and not being complete and lacking detail. Any viewer watching this can tell that it's not going to win any vote here. It's headed out, despite the efforts of the team to keep it in. Shimapan's texturing lets it down, but the model is looking fantastic, and the judges point out that texturing is a fairly easy thing to fix anyway. Sean Tracy in particular likes the interior and modelling work due to its high detail and clean look. The slightly crazy Three Dingo guys know how to show their work off. It starts out far more dramatic than any other presentation. I love it, and so does Chris Roberts, who's always a fan of a bit of dramatic flair. However, they put in so much work on the exterior that Chris Smith picks up on the lack of progress internally. The only real criticism other than the interior is how busy the exterior looks. It's detailed, it's cool, but there's just so much going on. Four Horsemen are back, and the judges like what they're seeing, although Mark Skelton picks up on the cramped interior. Chris Roberts loves the internals, even stating that it's a AAA asset, although it feels a little too big. The feedback is very positive though. It's presented with style, and the quality of work is shining through. After voting, Shard Collective are miles ahead of the rest, with Shimapan just beating Four Horsemen to the second automatic spot. That sends 1-bit Amoeba, 3 Dingo and 4 Horsemen to the safe pool. I'm starting to think judges just don't like names with numbers in them. Just to summarise, we've now got Taloncorp, Infinite Shui Monkey, Shimapan and Shard Collective going through to the final round, with Tri-Tri, Cryo, Skyguard, 3 Dingo, 1-bit Amoeba and 4 Horsemen all in the safe pool. 2 of those safe pool teams will be rescued by the community. The safe pool show happens on the 16th of May. Honestly, I wish they'd made this competition simpler. Lots of rounds, lots of safe pools, etc. Although, it's good that they're getting the community involved in the process. The show discusses the 6 remaining teams in the safe pool. The community vote results in 4 Horsemen headed back into the competition. Get it? They aren't headless? Anyway, 3 Dingo are also back in. Is it the ship or the fact that these crazy bastards are just great viewing? Who knows, but the judges seem a little relieved by the choices. Dear fellow subscribers, I'm going to be honest, the first episode of 10 for the Chairman this month isn't great, and I'm going to skip it in favour of Arena Commander, which goes live on June the 4th.
There are multiple hostiles inbound.
There's also a logo competition on the go at the moment, for something called Around the Verse. Like that'll ever be popular. Right guys? Guys? And of course, with Around the Verse comes the demise of Wingman's Hangar. This is the last ever episode, and it's a very long section, so if you wish to skip it, please jump to the time on screen now. For the rest of you, buckle up citizens, tissues at the ready. Time for me to shut up and let the team take us on a little nostalgic journey for a few minutes.
How has doing Wingman Hangar changed you at all in the sense of how information gets out to the masses compared to other projects you've done or future projects? How has it changed your view of the community? Well, Sergeant Tickles, that's a good question. It's funny because it's not changed much me at all as far as like personally or anything. I just think that's kind of, this is kind of a fun thing for us to do, to get out there. But it has changed the way we interact with the community and how we talk and go back and forth. And I've met some amazing people in the community from, locally in Austin and also in Germany was super fun. And went to Gamescom and at PAX East. So I think it's made me realize just how popular video games are, and how cool it is to be part of that. You get your head down and you're working on something, you don't really realize how much of an impact it has on people out there. So I don't think it's changed much as far as personally, but it has made you realize that video games are a lot bigger than I ever thought they were.
Plus, these people are so creative, and they get this outlet, and they participate.
Yeah,
they're eager to participate.
Yeah, and that's part of it, right? The letting them mod and be part of that. And but I've known that for a while. Like I can recall Half-Life playing that little level Rats, which was user created. And I thought that was amazing. So from Jiao Thun, are there any plans to release a Wingman's Hangar Collection Blu-ray, episodes 1 through 72, along with some special behind-the-scenes interview content?
That was asked more than once.
Yeah, we don't have plans for it now, but I guess if somebody asks for it enough, I mean, they're all on YouTube for you to see. They'll be there forever. You can check them out and see what's going on and see the hijinks and what's happened.
It's not something you really want to proudly display on yourself.
No, but there are some things that haven't been seen, and this is a great place for Mike to show a little bit of the forbidden Fitzsmithy.
Don't answer for me.
And that was that. Svan, are there any Wingman Hangar bloopers? Yeah, parts you had to cut out that we might get a glimpse of. Well, you just did. And there are a lot more. Actually, we had lots of bloopers that, actually, to be fair, Mike, we didn't have that many bloopers.
Actually, most of our bloopers end up in the show.
The whole show is kind of a blooper.
Yeah,
in a way.
it's one big blooper reel. We do stop occasionally when I mess something up. Not usually people's names, but
that gets in.
Yeah. But we don't really have a lot of bloopers. We sort of are very open and honest, and that's kind of the way we roll. It's time for this week's most valuable post. So actually, it's not a most valuable post. It's a look back at how most valuable posts were created. And we're talking to Ben Lisnick. Hey, Ben.
Hey, how are you doing, boss?
I'm doing okay. So, we want to talk a little bit about, you've been a big part of Wingman's Hangar. You've been in most of the episodes, and we've had a lot of fun doing it. No, but the truth is, we were sitting around talking about, we had done forum feedback, and we wanted to expand forum feedback a little bit, and we thought, there's a lot of positivity that goes on in the forums that would be nice to highlight. And so, because sometimes forums can be a scary and dangerous place.
Yes, they can, which is why I'm very grateful to have Will now. But we absolutely want to highlight some of the amazing things people do in the forums. Just keep in touch with the community. I don't know if you remember my first episode where we talked about the design of the freelancer that almost got both of us fired.
I forgot about that. You used you mentioned a symbol, or it looked somewhat like a symbol.
Yes, a certain object, and
yeah.
So don't go back and look that one up.
No, guys. No need.
Yeah, basically the ship design process, you take a penis and you kind of shave it down.
You don't shave a penis. What the hell are you talking about? There is no shaving penises here. That's in the art pit.
Yes.
I want to personally thank you for helping build it and allowing us to be zany and being part of the zany crazy crew.
It was my pleasure, my honor. And this is not the last people will see of Eric Wingman Peterson. You will be on the new show. You're our man in Austin.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. And now it's time for, the final MVP, at least the final one on Wingman's Hangar.
Over to me.
Thanks, me. Welcome to MVP, Most Valuable Posts, the segment where we tell you what the best post at the RSI forums was this week. However, since this is the final episode of Wingman's Hangar, we wanted to do things a little bit differently and award the prize to a group of people who more than deserve it. I'm talking, of course, about the group behind Wingman's Hangar, Michael Moreland, Eric Wingman Peterson, and Rob Irving. You guys give your all to the community every week, and it has been my honor to work with you for the past 72 episodes. We will be doing everything we can to try to keep what you created alive here in the new show in LA, and if we can fill a little bit of your shoes, we'll consider ourselves lucky. So, Michael, Eric, Rob, you are this week's most valuable posters.
And say hello to Mike. How you doing, man?
Doing really good.
So it's been a good ride.
It has been an interesting ride. It's been interesting to be on that side of the camera.
That side, and now you're on this side.
For a little while, here and there.
Exactly. Now, so we kind of, let's talk about how the show's beginning, how it started. I mean, initially, we did a live stream, Chris, myself, Sandy, Martin, and some others, and Dave Swafford, and we're doing the 24-hour live stream in a friend of ours' office to launch this thing, and I got kind of bored with just being in there with the group and listening to people talk, and so I was like, well, I'm just going to go out and start my own channel. So I went out and grabbed a Ustream channel and started doing like chair races and like how quick I could go and touch Chris in the ear and run back, and the fans were actually timing the times and stuff. And so
some other people were getting into that too. Sandy was jumping in.
yeah, she was doing this parrot thing, and they started calling her my parrot on my shoulder. So she would come out there. It was just kind of fun. And then we went to dinner and had a few, libations and it got a little wild. We had Angry Billy on there for a while. So anyway, that's kind of how how it started. Chris saw that and saw the reaction of people and said, remember he said you guys should do a weekly hour show, and I was like, no.
That would be a huge project. How could we possibly do that?
We can't do a weekly show. And he goes, well, just do 30 minutes thing. Give it a try. And so away we went.
I made the mistake of emailing you to congratulate you on the successful campaign.
That wasn't a mistake. And I was like, hey, you want in? But that's funny because I'd actually hired you as a project manager.
That's right.
Because you'd been a project manager for me before, and you'd been at Origin, and you were, with Tony Zurovec on Crusader, and you were working on Ultima Third Dawn and some other things out there. And it was sort of a natural fit. But when you got here, you've been making movies the last 6 or 7 years, and you started doing things like live streaming and Switch. Remember the Switcher?
Well, we brought that in. I was looking at two dorks on a camera. I thought, God, we got to do better than that. And
unfortunately, that part is failed.
That's still true. We're still
one day maybe.
Now it's two dorks on 3 cameras.
Yeah.
We've gotten it that far. So we kind of made a decision to go to a pre-recorded format.
I can remember when that decision was made. We had shot some reference video of a female model for our animators to get the musculature and the movement and stuff. And she was topless, and I'd asked you to put some black bars on there because we don't, to be respectful.
Which I did.
You did, but
Sorta.
right before this, you did. But just before the show ran, I said, "Let me see the black bars." And you're like, "Oh, they're there. Trust me." I go, "Well, let's just look at them." And the black bars were there.
They had magically moved to the right.
10 feet to the right. And so the black bars were moving perfectly,
they were bouncing along quite nicely with her.
But they were off frame. And so it was like, that would have been a disaster for us with YouTube and everything else. And so, but that's kind of how, and then we ran with that shtick from there.
As I recall, in the early days, it was me, you, Ben, and Mike.
Right.
And we were really trying to figure out how to take it from Wingman's nuts.
Yes.
And the first couple of episodes.
Your face on that when I would say, "Hey, say Wingman's nuts," you're like, "No, I don't think so." Nope, not gonna do it.
Yeah. So we were, we were trying to figure out what
do we
show.
do?
Yeah. How do we make a show? And I just threw out what if I do the weather every week,
Right.
And at that time the idea was that the shtick would just be that I was doing the weather for Austin, not like in the universe,
right.
but Austin being hot, it's always hot.
It is always hot.
So.
And it worked out because we ended up taking you around to different areas and checking out the different locations, and then having fun with you because we killed you a couple times. I think. Yeah. And you remember we had you floating outside the window on a few of those?
Yeah, that was. I think that was Mike's idea, and it turned out amazing.
I know. It was Hazy Thoughts.
What up, Peterson?
What's up, Mr. Hazy?
How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. Welcome.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
You too. So you
So this is over, man? Or it's
now.
winding up?
Yeah, it is, but we're gonna still do more stuff. We're gonna. Ben's got some plans for us in the future. I don't want to give too much away, but it's coming. So
it better be zany.
It better be zany. Let's talk a little bit about Hazy Thoughts. I mean, how'd that come about? Do you remember?
Well, originally, remember we did my interview, and so you had told me previously, hey, just to warn you, your interview's coming up.
Next
so I
week,
started thinking about it, and I remember I had been to my first hookah bar a couple of weeks prior to that, and I'm like, dude, that would be awesome to do it at a
totally
hookah bar.
Different, right?
So I presented you with it, and you're like, what the hell is a hookah bar? I
didn't know what
I was like, all right, man, well, let's go. I'll show you. And you walk in, and you're like, wow, this is interesting.
That was a fun interview. That was probably the most fun interview.
So I talked you into doing it, and it kind of rolled from there. And then I think after that, you guys were kind of brainstorming for bits and stuff. And I think actually Michael came up with the actual Hazy Thought shoot, which was fun.
Yeah.
So we did a first chunk of it, and then we did a huge chunk of it all in one sitting.
Right, so you had to.
And oh my God, by the end of that, man, my brain was just. I mean, just chilling all day, drinking beer, smoking hookah. It was a pretty epic day.
Yeah, well, it was fun because we knew you had been in some of the shows and like some of the vignettes we'd run around the office, and always people will be laughing at something, whether it's hugging the gorilla, or,
that was awesome.
or whether I'm like I was at GDC. Remember, I said I'm sure you guys are all working hard, and you guys were spraying like soda everywhere, and so
dude, that gorilla's breath smelled so bad.
I just
have to say that.
Well,
oh
gorillas,
Good Lord.
So, but so we were like, we got to get you on the show, and you guys actually surprised me. The Hazy Thoughts was you and Moreland went off and did that on your own, and Mike brought me over to the desk and said, you got to take a look at this, and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun doing it. And we involved the fans, too.
I know, they wrote a lot of those, right?
They wrote a big chunk of them.
And those are fun.
Yeah, they're great, man. I had a lot of fun doing it. And I know I get a lot of response, man. I get a lot of mail, emails saying, oh my God, I loved you at Hazy Thoughts. So now I'm the Hazy Thoughts guy.
I know,
which is awesome.
I'll
take it.
I know, right?
I'll take it. That's great.
I know. You're not just the Hazy Thoughts guy.
Yeah.
You're also the gold shirt guy.
That's true. I am the gold shirt guy. So I wonder, do illiterate people get the full effect of alphabet soup? Why are there 5 syllables in the word monosyllabic? If a synchronized swimmer drowns, do the rest have to drown too? So if you pew at the speed of light, does anything happen? What if Jesse's girl is Stacy's mom? So what is the speed of dark?
We'll say goodbye. Come on in, Mark, Pete, Rob.
Long-haired guy.
Yeah. Come on in, man. Oh, no.
It's so salty.
Thanks, Mark.
Good Lord.
All right, guys. Well, that's kind of it. This is episode 72 at the final Wingman's Hangar. So, where are we going to see him? In the verse.
Eric, hey.
Oh, hey.
You okay?
Well, yeah, I just had this most bizarre dream.
Well, we need to get started.
Yeah, I mean, it was like we've done this lots of times before, and people dug it. They really enjoyed it.
Well, there's only a few people watching right now.
Well, yeah, I guess let's get this journey started.
Okay.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Wingman's Nuts!
So we lose a team we love on 4th of June. Many of them would leave Cloud Imperium and move on to different projects over the coming year or so. But by coincidence, this is also the date where a new YouTuber starts uploading Star Citizen videos, at least from the earliest one I can find. Citizens, say hello to the now legendary Board Gamer.
Oh my god. So I am playing Star Citizen Arena Commander. Now, it was bugging out, it was going mental a minute ago. I can't remember the buttons. Luxury. You can win this, guys, by viewing, liking, subscribing to any of our Star Citizen content. I mean, actually liking it, like in IRL, is probably a good thing as well. Oh, hello.
Achieved missile lock.
Oh, fun missile!
Nice shooting.
I blew up the missile! Woo! Woo! Don't go to the light!
On the 7th of the month, we have the finale of the Next Great Starship. This has been a long time coming, and the competition has felt a little convoluted at times, but the teams have produced some fantastic work and deserve to be in the final. I'm messing around with the timeline of the episode here, which was recorded live, to make it a little more streamlined and a bit more logical. There are 6 teams still in the competition: 3 Dingo, 4 Horsemen, Infinite Shway Monkey, Shard Collective, Shimapan, and Talon Corp. It's worth pointing out that 4 of these 6 teams were sent to the save pool by judges and only saved by community vote. In fact, 3 Dingo were sent to save pools twice. 4 of these teams are vying for the 3rd place spot, as both 4 Horsemen and Shard Collective have won earlier rounds to be the finalists. There's a lot of money at stake here. The first prize is $30,000, second is $10,000 and third is $5,000, that is. Split between team members, along with an assortment of goodies for each one. Any team who's finished between 4th and 16th also gets $250 RSI credit for taking part. Voting on the 3rd place ship has finished, so it's time to see the 4 teams fighting for that $5,000 and the goodies.
All right, everybody, this was a super close vote with 8 votes between Infinite Shui Monkey and 3 Dingo. And the winner of the 3rd place prize is 3 Dingo. Congratulations. They will all be celebrating in Italy tonight.
With 3 Dingo victorious in their mini competition, it's time for the final between 4 Horsemen and Shard Collective. First, let's look at the 2 remaining ships vying for the $30,000 prize.
This is the Aegis Dynamics Redeemer-class gunship. When faced with the threat of Vandal incursions and piracy on the rise, it answers the call to arms by touching the future. Combining advancements in shielding and engine technology, the Redeemer provides an attack platform that is second to none. Capable of sustaining a crew of 3 and a Marine complement of 6 for weeks on end, the missions it excels in are boundless. Whether in space, on land, or over water, no enemy is safe. Pilots command a view that is only rivaled by their turret-operating gunners. All ship functions are tied directly into the cockpit's control suite, providing real-time interaction and information. These include, but are not limited to, current shield strength, life support system status, and active engine manipulation. Engineering allows for the crew to make many repairs internally, thus avoiding risky external attempts in rough or hostile conditions. The Redeemer's state-of-the-art shield emitters are also aligned and mounted within. The interior as a whole has been designed to maximize combat effectiveness through space available to the gunship's crew and passengers. As missions and tasks vary, Essentials necessary for long-haul excursions come standard. Through effective management of the ship's position, a Redeemer crew can safely assure all angles are covered. Pilot skill and gunner aim is rewarded greatly with devastating firepower. Maintenance routines for vector lock engines are incredibly quick and efficient. While in possession of the right tools and equipment, a highly automated arresting gear system allows for engine release and reattachment to be performed by a single qualified UEE mechanic. While in the heat of battle, the ability to take a hit and continue fighting is a trait any commander could hope for. Our engines come standard with top-of-the-line software that enables them to make necessary alterations to a closed position in the event one is lost, never sacrificing stability or pilot options, and allowing the ship to remain in combat. As an added bonus, Aegis Dynamics has made this a variable mount system, allowing for a wide range of engine options catering to different situations and styles, specific details of which remain corporate confidential at this time. As proven by many ships still in service today, our company strives to build a vessel that will withstand the test of time. While the Redeemer may be a departure from the standard designs of today, it remains rooted in our core principles of reliability, efficiency, and versatility. No matter the location, the time, or how dire the situation, the Redeemer will be there, protecting the ones you love and hold dear. Become a horseman today.
4 horsemen take a bow after their video is shown.
You guys definitely push the boundaries. Now, this entire competition, you haven't had a chance to directly address the audience. A lot of it has been pre-recorded video. This is your chance. There's a live voting audience on the internet. What can you tell them right now to influence them to vote for you to win the next great starship?
Vote for the Redeemer. Become a horseman today.
All right.
Up next is Shard Collective. The presentation isn't quite on par with 4 horsemen.
All right, let's...
There's a great moment in the episode when Shard Collective take a bow after their video is shown.
Do the right thing. Don't be deceived. Don't be deceived by videos or presentations. You know what works best, right?
Very well said. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, thank you and good luck. The winner is, can I get a bit of a drum roll or clapping or something? The winner is 4 Horsemen. All right, Chris Roberts, let's have you present the check. All right, can we have the check, please? The check.
Here we go.
And let's...
But congratulations, guys. You're deserved winners. And by the way, I'd like to say, and I think it's on both the ships, that the thing that's really great in our internal side is that we challenge all our artists, sort of like challenge each other. And I will say that your guys. Hey, hang on a second. That your guys' ship is so good that it kind of pushes our own internal artists, and they have to step it up and compete. So, well done, guys. Fantastic. Worthy winners. Well done.
MVP of the competition goes to Paul DeLacy of 4 Horsemen, for a variety of reasons, but mainly drive and leadership. Finally, I'd like to point out that Skyguard Fabrications did sort of win, at least longer term. Remember me saying a few episodes back how Chris Smith loved Skyguard's modelling work? Well, Elwin started at CIG shortly before the Next Great Starship competition ended. Basically, they kicked him out of the competition and straight into a new job as a senior 3D artist. Congratulations, Elwin. With the competition over, CIG dropped something special on us, and it's one of my personal favourites. Citizens, it's time for the freelancer commercial.
A comm comes over the spectrum with a job. All it says is an amount of cargo, a delicate timetable, and a risky route. You know you've got 42 cubic meters to pack full of profit. We're talking pressurized and shock-resistant construction, so whatever you put in here comes out the same way. You got 2 Arc Duo 400 engines. Their award-winning colloid ion technology gives you maximum fuel efficiency while keeping your sig low. You come across a couple of pirates.
Lancer, you know the drill.
But with a weapons system featuring trusted names like Bering and Kronik, you aren't too worried.
Commercial vessel, Freelancer class. Rig tags look good. Cleared for landing at Area 18.
You're the one they come to when they need a job done right. Because you trust one ship. Misk Freelancer. Built for life.
There's a huge amount of content this month due to Wingman's Hangar ending, ATV starting, and the Next Great Starship finishing as well. So I'm going to rush through 10 for the Chairman this month by paraphrasing and answering as quickly as I can. Fourville asks, will we be able to use large hull breaches as EVA points when boarding? Also, will multi-crew ships be limited to EVA points roughly where they sustain damage? Chris answers, EVA entry points will be limited to airlock and doors. It's not practical to have models configured for holes all over the place, so it will be predetermined areas. As much as he would like to pepper them with holes, the technology just isn't there yet. In the next episode, Willie Jones asks, can we have an update on the Track IR integration? Also, why are CIG looking to do Oculus Rift support before Track IR? Chris answers that Track IR is on schedule and being worked on sporadically. There are a few fans of VR in CIG, but with limited numbers of backers using VR, it's hard to justify developer time on it, especially when there are other priorities that affect everyone. In 10th the Chairman, episode 26, Wolfcrest asks, with the next Great Starship over, when will we know how much the winning ship will cost? And with its integration into engine, will this be something the Team 4 Horsemen do, or will it be down to CIG employees? Will there be another competition? Chris answers that he would like to make it an annual event. The ship will be brought into engine and cleaned up, both inside and out. There's a lot of work to be done, and it'll be done by Cloud Imperium staff. Hopefully it will enter the game around the same time as the new Mustang model. He'd personally like the other 3 top ships, Shard Collective, Infinite Shui Monkey and 3 Dingo, to also be in game at some point. In the last 10 for the Chairman of the Month, Bear the Red asks, will there be lore specific things hidden around the persistent universe? Things that perhaps don't have monetary value, but will add depth to the galaxy's story and game itself. Chris says that yes, there will be, but they will probably be limited in number. Not everyone will be able to find them. Likely artifacts you can discover and use, some unique, some not so. It'll be carefully done as part of salvage and exploration mechanics later on. On the 19th of June, Chris and Tony Zurovec sit down for a chat. It's by far one of the best CIG interviews we've ever had, and I wish I had more time to feature it this quarter. Tony is an old friend and colleague of Chris, having both worked on Ultima 7 and 8 whilst working at Origin 20 odd years ago. On a side note, so did Eric Wingman Peterson. Tony was mentioned by Eric back in Wingman's Hangar episode 69 in May 2014 as having joined CIG as Persistent Universe game director. During the interview, it's clear Chris has always rated Tony highly, even mentioning that back in the 90s at Origin he wanted Tony to work with his team, only to find out that Richard Garriott, the man behind Ultima, had got there first. I highly recommend watching the video, and I'll link to it in the description. It's a superb interview, but here's a short snippet which is particularly good.
You got, as of right now, almost 500,000 people, and basically they're the people, voting yes, no, we like this feature, etc. And I suspect that in the long run, those people are going to have a much more steady state of mind in regards to the development than any sort of executive, at a typical game publisher would have. I did a lot of financial analysis, trading software, etc. I also, happen to have a lot of interest in economic theory and business-related stuff. I never thought that there would actually be a game that would allow me to put some of those principles to work. But again, it's just kind of fate, I guess, in regards to Chris coming and saying, hey, we've got this incredibly detailed economic system that we want to drive context for the entire Star Citizen universe, and that's going to be, part of your purview. And it's just one of those things to where I see that and it's like, oh, that actually sounds really, really awesome. The thing, it's actually not any one specific thing that I'm most excited to add to Star Citizen. It's more the breadth of stuff that I would like to add. It's like I want diversity, variety. I want so much content out there that players can effectively choose any of a range of different occupations that they want to pursue and know that there's going to be so much content within the game that they can do that for an extended period of time and encounter so much of interest that they're going to stay that they're going to continue to have fun for a long time, regardless of whether they're pirate or mercenary or bounty hunter or freighter or any of a million different things.
With Wingman's Hangar finished, we're now on to Around the Verse, and we get the first 3 episodes this month. Being honest, I felt these were a little ropey, and I watched them with some trepidation. I wasn't entirely disappointed, and like Wingman's Hangar, it just took the team a while to get into the swing of things and get the new format ironed out. Some of the community weren't so generous, although I suspect these may have changed their mind by now. Thankfully, Ben Lesnick puts us straight, doesn't dodge the issue, and tackles the criticism of replacing Wingman's Hangar head on.
But seriously, folks, when we said we were moving the show to Los Angeles, we heard that it was going to be this Hollywood affair, shallow, not involved with the game, and what we want to show you is that that's as far from the truth as possible. Here in Santa Monica, we have a hardworking team of artists, designers, programmers. They're the guys who built the Star Citizen dogfighting module, and they're going to be building the next parts of the verse.
Ben has also learnt some tricks from Eric. We get an early tour of the LE office. Here's a cut-down version.
This is our writer's room, We have Harry Jarvis, who you know from Austin. Hello. It's our newest writer, William.
Hey, how's it going?
And of course, the legendary Dave Haddock. What you guys working on?
Writing? Yeah.
There you go. You heard it here first. It's an Around the Verse exclusive. This is the office of the man himself, Mr. Chris Roberts. But in fact, this is not Chris Roberts. This is Dennis Daniels, our long-suffering IT guy. And here we have the Santa Monica Art Room with our famous hair model, Dave Halvins. So that is Cloud Imperium Santa Monica. We are stuffed with people right now. It reminds me of Austin in the early days. But we're excited to show you guys what we can do. So let's take it away, Around the Verse. I got one more.
During the first episode, we also learned that Gamescom in Germany is now planned and will be happening on the 15th of August, with lots of PCs for people to play Arena Commander on. And they're also looking to do an event in Australia, at PAX Australia. There's also an explanation of the new cross-chassis upgrade system. We're told that Hangar Flare this month is a Freelancer Miss model and box, and that Arena Commander t-shirts are almost ready to be shipped. It's now time for the first Around the Verse MVP.
Hey everybody, I'm lead moderator Will, and I'm here to bring you this week's MVP. This week's MVP goes to Leon300 for his thread about tips and tricks and general help in Arena Commander. He goes into the HUD and explains the different systems, and he talks about the basic controls. So thanks Leon300, you're this week's MVP.
In this week's interview with Travis Day, we discover that they are focusing on single-seater ships, then variants of those ships, and finally multi-crew vessels. This is partly because of the need for physics grids on the multi-crew ships. We also get an interview with a backer from the community called Disco Lando, aka Jared Huckabee. It's a relatively short interview, but Lando seems like a natural. They should really give this dude a job.
So why was it Disco Lando then?
Like I said, it was a whim. It was a lark. It was almost Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. It could have been a coin flip. So it just happened to be that, and then I got pictures off the internet, and we're cutting and pasting them. That's what I used for the first videos. And then when I started, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing more of these. I had to start buying the figures, and I now have probably more figures than I should.
What got you into Star Citizen specifically?
A really good friend, two really good friends of mine.
Just two?
We grew just these two specifically. We grew up playing Wing Commander. They had Wing Commander. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I actually grew up without a computer for a long time.
So did I.
And so I'd go over to their house and watch them play Wing Commander. And mainly, I just kind of sat in the chair behind them while they played because I just wanted to watch the movies.
I love doing
I
that
wanted
with
to see
games
Mark
too.
Hamill.
Just any games, like I love just playing games with friends, and they're like, "You want to play?" I'm like, "No, dude, I'm just watching."
Yeah. And well, then they'd eventually let me play, and I'd be really terrible.
Oh,
there used to be a keyboard shortcut to just make the Kilrathi blow up. I just like, just get me to the next movie because I'm terrible.
Yeah.
In ATV 1.02, they mention that Tony Z has finally joined. So I'm guessing he was working his notice period when Eric mentioned him back in May 2014. Anyway, Tony is now fully on board. Alexis and Chelsea confirm that citizen cards are coming soon, and the freelancer upgrades, or CCUs, are permanent. There's no undoing these or melting. Melting? What the f*** is melting? We don't even have melting yet. Sandy interviews Dave Hobbins. He's a big fan of sci-fi ships like Slave One from Star Wars and Sid Mead's Leonov. We also see a demo of Dave drawing what looks like an asymmetrical ship. What I wouldn't give for more asymmetrical ships in Star Citizen. This week's MVP is Strudel Baron for adding Star Wars effects to voice attack and using it in Arena Commander. Here's a snippet of Strudel Baron's video. I'll also link it in the description.
Lock.
Lock.
Fire.
Shields charging. Target destroyed. Scanning.
Couple.
Shields charging.
There's a surprise ship sale tomorrow, and it's the Xi'an Scout concept. It's the first time we've ever seen this ship. Rounding out ATV 102 is a new section. It's sort of the very first episode of Bug Smashers with Mark Abent, but they haven't actually got around to naming it yet. They have no idea of the greatness to come. This week's bug is the Gatling guns failing to make pew pew sounds since they were updated.
Hop into the Hornet, turn on my debug, and you can see all the animations and sounds playing once again. Then once my Hornet gets damaged. Zoom out a little bit. We just switched to damage state and we're still playing our sounds and all that. This time I blew up my wing, so it won't actually show it, but it did continue playing the sounds and animations when it got damaged.
In the final ATV of the month, we're told the Jian Scout sale is going well and they've hit the $47 million stretch goal, which was a space plant. We're also showing a little more footage of the Jian Scout, presumably to push sales in the final hours. In news for Around the Verse this week, we're told that the asteroid hangar is nearing completion, with Canadian outfit Behaviour having done a ton of work on it. They don't however confirm who's been working on the first-person shooter module yet. They're still staying tight-lipped. We also get an update on some ship progress this week. The Gladius, Retaliator, Gladiator, Panther, soon to be called Pegasus, Javelin and Idris are all in some form of grey boxing, although the Idris is being reviewed. I wonder if it'll get smaller. The Bengal Carrier and the bridge concept for the Javelin are both in white boxing, whilst the concept artists are hard at work on the F8 Lightning. There are 2 questions from this week's interview with Dave Haddock which stood out for me.
All right, so William George would like to know, what are some cliches in science fiction settings or stories that you try to avoid and why?
That's a good question. Little Green Men, so far we haven't done that, so we've tried to actively stay away from them. I mean, my personal one is just, it's more of a general cliches, the like kind of moral absolutes, you know, there's the bad guys, you know, cut and dry bad guys. These are the white hat good guys. I don't know. Personally, I find it can be fun, but it gets thin kind of quick, and particularly because we're trying to create a universe that has a lot of longevity, that it doesn't really lend itself well to what we're trying to do. Like we want that sort of moral complexity where you can kind of, it may be bad, but it's sort of a perspective on bad and what is bad, what is good, you know, that type of stuff. So,
Looking forward to playing the adventures you and your team are creating for us. I'd imagine that writing for a game has to be more difficult than, say, writing a novel. What are some of the unique challenges you face when composing SC's story?
Well, with the Squadron 42, which has been sort of the focus now, it's not having a main character. Because we're letting the players create their own avatar, the sort of one of the fundamental tools of storytelling is being basically taken out, because we can't write for a main character to go on this journey. So we have to account for everybody, and we can't have any kind of prior knowledge. So I can't say, all right, well, this, you know, Commander Shepard or Jack Bauer or whatever came from this background, because your character may come from a different background than my character does. So we can't plan for that. So that's been definitely one of the biggest challenges, and you know, that comes down to the sort of interactive nature of the story too. So. Yeah, it's nice to have main characters that you can write for.
Sounds like you need to be good at mathematics or something. All the permutations, if like choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
If you were this character, then
yes.
maybe this. If
yeah, there's
that
a lot
character.
of that. Like, yeah, you made this decision here, so that has to come back into play here.
Right.
It's a very weird kind of much more technical approach to storytelling than any other thing I've ever seen.
Mark is back and apparently has his own slot now. Unfortunately, he's looking a little confused about a broken hangar buggy.
So today's bug is looking at the hangar and why the vehicle is flipping around like crazy. Oh, that is weird. So one of the first things that you'll notice is the ground has the no-draw texture, which means our buggy here has no friction on the ground, so it's able to slide like crazy. First part of the bug, which was the buggy sliding across the floor due to the level not having any surface friction, and that was as a result of the texture not having the right surface properties. The second part of the bug was something is causing the buggy to, when it hits something, just freak out and just jump all over the place and go ballistic. Someone decided to set the vehicle gravity to 30 meters per second. Okay, which is 3 times above normal gravity. And because of that, the spring force was assuming the gravity was 30, which resulted in a higher spring force than you would at normal gravity. And in that low gravity environment, it just shot the vehicle all the way around.
The last MVP of June goes to Evar Slipstream for his custom real-life bridge modelled on the Constellation Bridge, which the geek in me absolutely loves. And we round off this month and this quarter with a sneak peek at the Gladius artwork.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bug Hunters. What's the name of the show?